JJC Capital Partners are Spain's first English-speaking, totally legal equity release professionals covering all of Spain. If you're looking to release cash from your home in the form of a tax-efficient lump sum or require a larger income each month to spend during your retirement, they are here to help. Delighted to be joining me live on the line from sunny Murcia, Sales Director at JJC Capital, Ian Barlow. Ian, good morning to you.
Morning.
Good to have you with us this morning. Capital release, equity release. Give me, if you like, because I can see your face, you can see mine. You can see by this face that I'm a bit of a dunderhead when it comes to this. So explain, if you like, what we're doing in basic terms, please.
Okay. The first thing to say is that most expats here would have seen adverts on the English TV for Aviva and such like. The system here is totally different to the UK. In the UK, you would typically borrow money against the equity in your property. You would never make any payments on it. And then when you die, you would pay back the capital plus the accrued interest over that time. That's not typically available in Spain. They have a different system, a thing which is interestingly called an usufruct, which is a Spanish word for a Spanish law, which has been around for decades. USUFRUCT.
Good grief.
What that basically said, and this is known and understood by all of the Spanish lawyers, I'm told it's taught in Spanish law schools and so on, but what you basically do in Spain to release the equity is you have to sell your property to an investor. Okay, so we find the investor for the individual, and typically you would get between 50 and 60% of the market value of your property. Okay, but you would also get an usufruct, which is a legally watertight addendum to the deeds registered at the land registry, which basically says that you can live there for the rest of your days.
Because this is something that obviously people may be getting a little bit nervous about. They've heard stories from unscrupulous companies before about this sort of thing going sour. But this usufruct, as you called it, this is a legally binding addendum then.
It's completely and utterly watertight. Nobody can, without your permission, can get rid of it. And it stays. If, for instance, the investor had financial difficulties and had to renege on his part of it, and maybe a bank repossessed the house, it doesn't really matter because the bank can only resell it still with the usufruct involved. So it really doesn't matter. It's squeaky clean and makes no difference whatsoever from the perspective of the person that's living in the house.
Now, we've been through some, let's call them interesting times recently in the past 18 months to 2 years. A lot of people have been having problems with bringing in cash and perhaps their financial system, their financial circumstances have changed. So is this a way that people will be able to free up income but still remain in the family home, as it were?
Yes, indeed. I mean, every single client that we deal with has a different reason for doing this. And I have to say, it's not for everybody, but for the people that it works for, it can really satisfy what they want from their, the best way to put it is their twilight years, shall we say. Because we have everyone. We have a guy who wants to buy a motorhome. We have a lady who wants to send a chunk of money to a child in the UK who would rather have 50k today than 150k in 15 years when she dies or whatever. So the reasons for it are completely specific to the individuals involved. And that's why we always encourage people to think about this really thoroughly and check with the family and make sure it's absolutely what they want.
It's an interesting one you say about people in their twilight years, because there are implications when it comes to tax and inheritance tax in Spain. And is this a way that you can perhaps ease the burden of inheritance tax, or perhaps make it less financially costly for rather than inheritance tax?
Well, we all know that the probate system in Spain is not a simple thing to navigate, particularly if the inheritor, i.e. the child who lives in the UK, is non-Spanish resident for obvious reasons. So certainly what it does is it takes away the requirement for the person who's inheriting the property to have to, because you have to pay the inheritance tax up front here before you actually get ownership of the property. So that basically you could be leaving your house to your children and leaving them with a problem, which clearly they don't want to do. It sounds like a big discount, 50 to 60%, but when you think about it, if they had to sell up the house and move to a rented accommodation and pay, I don't know, just as a finger in the air, €500 a month, now that's 60 grand over 10 years, 60,000 euros, which is a lot of money, which erodes the lump sum that you would take. With this, they do away with the problem of inheritance tax. They do away with the problem that if you have to go into permanent health care, that can cause issues if you actually own property in Spain, because just like the UK, the Spanish government can make you sell your house to pay for your health care. So it can be the perfect solution to certain people. As I reiterate, it's not for everybody, but for the people it does work for, it works very, very well indeed.
Also, there's the visa situation, the non-lucrative visa, I believe, which you can aid with that. Am I correct? Am I going down the right path with that one?
Yeah, well, the non-lucrative visa is something that's been brought about post-Brexit. Basically, people bought these properties, probably still have a property in the UK as well, and they bought them to have free and open access whenever they wanted to and come and go as they please. Since Brexit, the laws around that have all changed. You can only have 90 days at a time and so on. But they've created this system called the non-lucrative visa, which as long as you can prove that you are not going to be in any kind of burden on the Spanish state, so you're not going to ask for healthcare, you're not going to ask for any unemployment benefits or anything like that, then they will let you stay here at your own discretion, basically. The problems around it are twofold. First of all, there is a fairly lengthy procedure you have to go through to apply and get approved for this. You have to prove you have private healthcare, and you have to prove you have something around 27,000 euros per person in the bank, so that you're not going to be a burden on the state. Some people don't have that. They're living here, they want to stay here, they don't want to work here. They just want to exist here, live their lives. But they don't have the 27,000 euros. So in certain cases, they can release the equity on the property. They live there as if absolutely nothing whatsoever has changed, except the bank balance has increased, which clearly means that then they can satisfy the NLV requirements and they can come and go in Spain as they please, or stay here permanently. And
again, that's removing a lot of worries and a sort of a dark cloud that's been hanging over a lot of people post-Brexit.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, that's, in real terms, the joy of my job is that we do remove dark clouds from certain people. As I said before, it's up to the individual, and we really want people to think through what this involves, but it can take away a multitude of different and diverse problems.
Is there a timescale on this? Is there a timeline? I mean, how long is it? Literally, are we talking? Is every case different in terms of we're looking to release this equity, or is it?
It's like asking the question, how long will it take to sell my house anywhere? We have to find an investor, because these investors are, we have a hard core, if you like, of about 800 that we've done business with in the past. So we advertise to those people first. They tend to be everything from sort of larger commercial organisations down to, we had one guy who's a chap who inherited some money and he works at an airport. So there is a diversity of the sort of people who look for these investments. And clearly they want their pound of flesh. They can buy antique whiskey or Microsoft shares or any other investment that's around there. But they find it very good from a security perspective. We've all heard these horror stories of people renting the houses out in Spain and never getting paid and the house getting trashed and so on. For an elderly couple who've lived in that house for maybe 10, 15 years, they're the perfect kind of sitting tenant for an investor in Spain. So they actually offer good value for the investor as well.
I've just got a question. I just got a question here on the WhatsApp, which is +34645 996795. Hi, Giles. Can you please ask your interviewee what the investor gets out of this deal? Well, I think you just answered that, basically.
Well, the investor buys a property at, between 40 and 50% of discount on the market value. The downside for the investor is he doesn't know when he's going to get free and open access to that property. It could be, I mean, God forbid, somebody could get hit by a bus and they get it the next day, but that's unlikely. What typically happens is it tends to be when one or both of the people living in the property move on upstairs, for the nicest possible way of putting it. And that is a moving target, obviously. We don't really know when that's going to happen. So there is an element of risk from the investor, but they buy a discounted property with a sitting tenant who's going to look after the property. And as and when they do pass, then the investor has free and open access to the property, and he can give it to his daughter, sell it, live in it himself. He can do whatever he wants with it then. But it's usually 30 days after the second day. If it's a couple, it's the second person, obviously, that needs to die before the investor takes true ownership of the property.
So just
the system's called the system's called bare ownership because the investor owns the property but doesn't have access to it, whereas the sitting tenant has free and open access to the property but doesn't own it. Hence the system's called bare ownership.
So just to go back to the main points, if you are if you do have your own house, you're sitting there, you want to free up, this lump sum, the advantages of going to you are, Ian?
First of all, we're completely legal. We have licenses from the Bank of Spain. We don't take a penny in any commissions, or there is a commission, obviously, but we don't take them until the completion takes place at the notary, right at the very end of the process. There's no upfront fees. There's no costs whatsoever until such time as we go to the notary and the legalities of the deal are done. We then present them with an invoice and they pay us within 7 days. It's the end of the deal and that's it. You've got your money, no future interest accruing or anything like that. It's a done deal. You get your lump sum on day one. I mentioned several times there are different reasons for doing this, and we very much encourage people to seriously think it's probably the last big financial decision they'll make in their lives, and we will assist in any way, shape, or form to help people with that.
If people want to find out more information, get in contact with you for an informal chat or go online, how can they get hold of you, and where can they find you?
Okay, 3 things. We have a website, which is www.jjccapitalpartners.com. We have a website, an email address, which is info@jjccapitalpartners.com. And we also have a Spanish telephone number outside the UK, 0034, and then it's 910-375-611.
Just give me those numbers.
910-375-611.
Just give me that number again, please, Ian, because I talked over it.
Okay, 910-375-611.
I know you're a busy man, but Ian Barlow at JJC Capital Partners, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Take care.